you mentioned the actual courses and the training in Bloomberg. So let's move on to that. So I know that we have for a while we only had one course, which was a one credit hour course. But now we've got two courses as of the past year. But let's talk a little bit about that. So first course that is called Bloomberg Basics.
Mhm.
Finance 494. Is that right?
You got it. So,
All right. Finance 494, one credit hour, Bloomberg Basics. And I know this is a course that has been your baby for a long time, and you developed it and you continue to nurture it. So what do students do in Bloomberg Basics?
right. Before I delve into Bloomberg Basics, I'm going to take a half a step back and talk
Okay.
about a certification that all business majors, undergraduate and now graduate in the Haslam College of Business complete, that has the word Bloomberg in it. And this actually leads to a lot of confusion about what our courses that we offer in the Investment Center versus a certification that's embedded in their finance class.
Mhm.
So if you're taking your first finance class, whether it's Finance 306, Finance 308 Honors, or Finance 301, which is a general finance class, or even Finance 300, you're offered the opportunity to complete a Bloomberg certification course called Bloomberg Market Concepts. And it's a miniature overview of finance, is what we like to say, a very high-powered visual overview that Bloomberg has produced and that we administer and basically assist in grading. And so it's a 6 to 8 hour certification course that you take while taking your first finance class. And it just talks about what finance is, but it doesn't tell you how to use Bloomberg, the terminal, the software itself. And so at the completion of your first finance class, you feel like, oh, I know Bloomberg, when the reality is you've watched a few Bloomberg screens or the Bloomberg software in conjunction with explaining concepts like economic indicators or the equity market or fixed income, for example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every business major at some point will take a Bloomberg certification course, but that is not the same as the course that we've created in the Investment Center that you were talking about. The 1 hour, now a finance elective. So it's a 1 hour finance elective course called Bloomberg Basics. And that does teach you how to actually navigate the software and extract data. And so it's just a very basic overview of the variety of market sectors that Bloomberg offers. And we do it through a traditional flipped format, which most students hadn't heard of until Zoom, until COVID and the Zoom technology. But what we do is if you think about how you would learn a software that you weren't sitting in front of, this is what we do. So in essence, we're going to record videos of how to use the software and have students watch that. And then we provide basically like a textbook of how-to instructions and definitions. And then to use the software itself, the students once a week visit the Investment Center and sit down in front of the Bloomberg terminal. And then they walk through a series of exercises that they should look familiar from having watched the videos. So of course, if they don't watch the video, then coming into the Investment Center and working through a series of exercises could be challenging.
Yeah. So what's an example of the type of exercise a student would do in this course when they're sitting behind the terminal?
Right. So one example would be remembering that students, maybe when they're taking this course, are taking it in conjunction with their first finance course. So they're in their first finance course, which is a 300 level class, and they're sitting in this Bloomberg terminal how-to course. We realize that they may not have all the vernacular, so we keep things very high level. So one of the things they're going to learn in their first finance class is an overview of the equity markets. And so we would show them a screen called WEI, which is World Economic Indicators. And from there, we would show them how you could drill down through various countries and geographic segments to find information on equity markets within those segments. And then we can further go into what a company snapshot looks like. So for example, if you're looking at a company like I always say Coca-Cola or Disney that's been around a while, you can bring that up. And then you can see a financial snapshot of a variety of different aspects of that company to analyze. So in this first finance class, in the first finance class, Bloomberg Basics. We're just teaching them how to navigate the terminal. They're still not yet explaining what it means because maybe they haven't had the finance classes to help them do that. So
So in Finance 306, which I teach often, I'll say things like, okay, today we're going to talk about balance sheets and income statements, and Disney has this amount of assets on their balance sheet, or Disney had this amount of income last quarter, and then we'll keep on going, and we'll start talking about Disney's stock price, and I'll say, okay, what was Disney's stock trading at yesterday, and then I'll just spit out answers, and then we'll use these numbers to solve problems.
That's a great screenshot, by the way, is the stock price is GP, is you're graphing the price, and we can overlay it in Bloomberg with some really neat how news drives stock price changes. News drives the market. So that's a really popular.
So my students, then they could, instead of relying on their teacher to say, here's what the income statement looks like, if they wanted to go get this themselves, which is exactly what they would do in an analyst job right after they graduate, they could experience doing that in real time at a Bloomberg terminal, which I think is just an incredible hands-on experience for them.
And I think the best part of this 1 hour class that we provide to them, that they're taking hopefully in conjunction with their first finance class, is that they're realizing all the potential uses for the various screenshots and data. And it really, you can really see what area that you're interested in. And if what you're interested in is market movements and delving into the value of a company, then we're setting them up nicely for their first investments class, Finance 425 or Finance 427. I think one of those classes where then they can utilize what they've learned on Bloomberg while in that class to gather research and analyze for the various topics in that class.
Yep. So we might, and I've taught those classes too, and we might talk about something like, I don't know, credit spread. We might say a credit spread is going to be the difference in yield to maturity between a highly rated bond and maybe a double B bond or something like that. And so what they can do is you actually will teach them to go into Bloomberg and find, okay, what is the credit spread for double B's over triple A's right now? Right now, and then track what that spread has done over the last 10 years. And you can see spikes and peaks and valleys and start associating those with certain events that we all know have occurred. So wonderful opportunity.
Exactly. And that led us to realize that we needed, basically, one of my students about 8 years ago said, Bloomberg Basics is great, but how about a Bloomberg Advanced class? This just isn't enough. Like we'd love to get more of Bloomberg out in correlation with our upper level finance classes to be able to use Bloomberg at a higher level. And so we did create a 2 hour Bloomberg class called Bloomberg Advanced. And the numbers changing a little bit, so you can find it in the course catalog. And so in conjunction with Bloomberg Basics, which is 1 hour, and Bloomberg Advanced, which is 2 hours, you have an entire finance elective between those two courses that are taking over 2 semesters. So you do need to finish Bloomberg Basics first before registering for Bloomberg Advanced, though.
Okay, so those need to be in separate semesters.
Right. Yeah.
You don't contiguous semesters would be optimal. So maybe a junior year, take Bloomberg Basics in the fall and Advanced in the spring.
That sure would be useful. And you'll find that the topics that we cover in Bloomberg Advanced are really relevant to your upper level finance electives. So for example, we cover about equity options, and we have a derivatives course. We go into financial statement analysis, and we do a whole thing on different currencies, which is used in international business or international finance elective. And in the advanced class, we cover that on a case basis. So what that means is that each week, instead of using the format that the students were familiar with from Bloomberg Basics, they're coming to the center, but they're spending more time on a terminal. So they'll be in the investment center on average about 3 hours a week, gathering information on these Bloomberg cases that we've created. And then they write a short write-up and they provide an Excel spreadsheet using Bloomberg Excel, so using a Bloomberg query language in conjunction and creating these spreadsheet models. And that's how they're graded. So there are actually no exams in that class, which generally students seem to like, even though they don't realize that exams have a very good use. But the cases do allow them some flexibility. So, and there is some writing involved, which finance majors, as you know, are generally not known for their love of writing. So we think it's an important skill set to develop.
Absolutely. And people that hire finance majors will say that as well. So it's, this is all good. I think to me personally, the Bloomberg terminals are just cool. They're just fun. They're fun to play with. When I'm teaching, I will on a somewhat regular basis go grab one of your Bloomberg terminals. Since some of them are housed on laptops, I can take the laptop into the classroom and just pull it up and show my students things in real time. And I just love seeing the eyes pop when I go through these screens, and it's so much more enjoyable than just looking at numbers out of a book or equations.
It does differentiate us too from other universities. So when we talk to students who are finance majors, especially at other universities, there's usually only 2 Bloomberg terminals and they're housed in the library. Or they have a trading floor with different software, but Bloomberg itself is only on one computer because of the cost. The fact that we have so many terminals allows us flexibility in the delivery and usage of it. So there are not many other classes where in your first finance class, the professor is pulling up Bloomberg screens and walking you through how to analyze GameStop or AMC and what's good or bad about it. And it's such a powerful visual tool that the wow factor is there, but the learning is there too. And most students don't realize when we say it's the gold standard of the industry, it's been the gold standard since the 80s. And there just really is no better tool than Bloomberg. So there's a lot that come close to it, but it really is that powerful. So
on that note, we'll just end with this. I know that you do a great job of keeping track with students after they graduate. I think part of it is just the fact that our students just love you and they enjoy talking to you, and it's clear that you care about them. But on the subject of learning and using Bloomberg, what do you hear from students 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road after they've graduated, when they're in their careers, and they call you and they just talk shop with you? What kind of things do you hear from them about what they're doing with Bloomberg in their jobs?
Right. So I think the best part of my job is I get to keep track of a lot of different types of students. So they're not only the student workers that have worked in the investment center, the students on the torch funds, as well as just general finance majors that I've met through UTK and FMA through chaperoning trips. And so for all of them that have completed and used Bloomberg or participated in different events or things we have for the finance department and the investment center, they really feel like and it sounds cheesy to say it, but it's enhanced their educational opportunities beyond which, other friends of theirs have graduated from competing colleges with. So first of all, it's helped them set them aside in their professional jobs. So we have one student in particular. I remember I had just opened the center. It was 3 years later. And at the time, we were only having about 20 students a semester come into the center. I had to be out there and a sign and, the thing doing crazy things to get anyone to come in and learn Bloomberg.
Come get a donut, sit at a Bloomberg terminal.
Yeah. They were paying me to stay away at that point in time because it's like, what's Bloomberg? It just sounded like more work they couldn't see the benefit. And now, of course, we have hundreds of students come through. So it's just funny to see that timeline. But anyway, she reached out to me because in this happened, she was at SunTrust and she was on a different floor. So she was in banking and it was not her job at all to know Bloomberg, but she happened to be walking past a Bloomberg terminal and they had one on their floor for the entire floor. And someone was very frustrated that they couldn't find the information in Bloomberg. They're like, does anyone know how to use a Bloomberg terminal? Out loud. Yeah. And she just happened to be walking by, Nicole, I remember her, and said, yeah, I actually do, and sat down and helped them find what they needed, and then popped out as this, at the time, she had been on the job for 1 year. And that was an impressive, something that not many students have that opportunity, but just the fact that you know how to use it, it may come in handy at the company you're with in the, in the most unexpected ways. More traditionally, we find that the students who use Bloomberg heavily end up on the torch funds, which we think are a great use of your knowledge of Bloomberg. Of course, there makes sense to know how to use them for the torch funds, and then we see the torch fund graduates going out and having really great jobs where Bloomberg has enhanced their knowledge as well. But probably over the years, the thing that I hear the most is it's the fact that they learned a software package. So just it's whether it's Bloomberg or one of its competitors like Thomson Reuters, the skill sets that you use to try to think about the problem, what variables do I need, and how do I put that together to find the information to solve that problem? It's the same no matter what the package. So it's that skill set that we keep talking about. So Bloomberg is beautiful and it has all the bells and whistles, but teaching you how to think about things and solve the problems are really the impactful part that I think the center plays a part of in the students' careers or journeys. So.
Yeah, great. Well, y'all are doing great work there, and I encourage all of our students to get involved at some level in the MILC. And so, Dr. Cole, thanks for your time today, and I'm sure many of our students will be seeing you around come fall.
I look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. All right. Thanks.